Well, this is the pack of cigarettes that I had smoked that day.
What day?
The day before I went to the chiropractor, because I was very nervous. I was extremely nervous. The chiropractor is the first one now that took the x-ray and showed me that I really had a spot on my lung. And I had smoked this pack of cigarettes the night before and that day. And when I saw the spot, I said, I'll never smoke again. I don't care what the spot is, whether it is malignant or not. I'll never smoke again. And so my daughter came, and they were cleaning off my desk, my table at the hospital when I got ready to come home, and they were going to throw these away, and I said, no. I said, don't throw them away. I said, someone may get it and smoke it. I said, leave this with me, whether I live or die, or when I do die, put this in my casket, and that way I'll be sure that nobody ever smokes it.
Cigarette smoking first became popular with Americans in the late 1800s. The favorite brands were made with Turkish, not American tobaccos. Then in 1913, R.J. Reynolds launched a cigarette brand that revolutionized the industry, Camels. Camels were the first cigarettes designed primarily for advertising. Reynolds used teaser ads to imply that everyone would be smoking Camels. And soon they were. By the end of World War I, Camels were America's #1 brand, with 40% of the nation's cigarette business. In October 1920, Dr. Jess Barron, a young pathologist at the University of Minnesota, performed an autopsy on a 46-year-old man and found that he had died of lung cancer. In 1920, lung cancer was an extremely rare disease. Sometimes several years went by without a single case appearing. But now, there were 3 cases in 3 months. Was this the onset of an epidemic? Americans smoke more than 600 billion cigarettes a year. The cigarette industry makes more than $14 billion a year in sales. But each year, more than $17 billion is lost as a result of smoking-related medical care, accidents, and absenteeism. 10% of all hospital and medical care costs are smoking-related. Each year, 77 million workdays are lost, 88 million days spent in bed, and 306 million days of restricted activity, all because of smoking. Each year, cigarettes are the direct cause of 325,000 deaths. Many of these victims are younger than you might expect. They would have had several more decades of life if they had not smoked cigarettes. Cigarette smoke is made up of more than 3,000 different substances. 90% of the smoke consists of a dozen hazardous gases. The remaining 10% is particle matter, also known as tar. Of the gases, carbon monoxide is the most dangerous. It is colorless and odorless. When carbon monoxide is inhaled, it displaces the oxygen in the blood. A cigarette smoker has from 4 to 30 times more carbon monoxide in the blood than a non-smoker. Carbon monoxide is a principal contributor to circulatory diseases. It damages the artery walls and leads the way to sudden death by heart attack. Tar contains the cancer-causing agents of cigarette smoke. Nicotine is the addictive element in tobacco. It raises the blood pressure and heart rate, causing the body to need more oxygen. Cigarettes can be particularly dangerous for mothers. Women who smoke during pregnancy tend to have babies with lower birth weights. And if a nursing mother smokes, her milk has less vitamin C than if she doesn't smoke. Low levels of vitamin C can cause damage to the infant.
November 11th.
Young children are much more receptive to lung infections if their parents smoke. And parent smoking sets a dangerous example.
I've seen my mom do this before. It's not going out.
There has been an enormous increase in the number of teenagers and preteens who smoke. Every day, an additional 4,000 children try cigarettes for the first time. Part of the increase can be blamed on low-tar and nicotine cigarettes, which are easier to smoke. But there are other influences. Teenagers are 50% more likely to smoke if the adults they associate with smoke. But by far the greatest influence comes from friends. Teenagers often feel the pressure to conform to friends' behavior. This behavior can include smoking cigarettes. The best way not to start is to refuse a cigarette if it is offered to you. Smoking is a decision you must make for yourself. And your friends, if they really are your friends, will respect your decision.
You saw his hand get sweat.
Oh, it's just an hand.
Quitting smoking is a lot more difficult than resisting starting. A typical smoker may quit many times before he succeeds in breaking the habit. The temptation to start again can sometimes be very strong.
Here we go, here we go. Jan.
Many Americans have switched to low-tar and nicotine cigarettes, hoping to reduce the health risks of smoking. Sales of these brands are increasing more than 10% a year. But these cigarettes may be more dangerous. Many smokers who switch to them have a tendency to smoke more. Smoking affects the health of involuntary smokers, those who are forced to breathe the air polluted by cigarette smoke. Recent research has shown that side stream smoke, the smoke generated by a smoldering cigarette, has more nicotine and carbon monoxide than mainstream smoke, the smoke inhaled by a smoker.
Still high. No parachute. Ace is a big man.
The carbon monoxide level in a poorly ventilated room can reach hazard levels far beyond those which occur in air pollution emergencies.
Ace is the man.
For the person who wants to stop, there is a lot more help than ever before. In almost every community, there are stop smoking groups that offer information and support. For those who don't want to attend a group, a number of books are available that explain proven stop smoking methods.
That's right.
It's never too late to stop smoking. Even lifelong smokers who quit will notice improvements in their health in just a couple of weeks. If you quit smoking, you can add years, even decades, to your life. But the cigarette industry is not interested in anyone quitting smoking. It spends $260 million a year persuading Americans to smoke. The top 4 brands alone spend more than $100 million to encourage smoking. And because many smokers are always changing brands, the tobacco industry keeps coming up with new ones. The techniques used to advertise smoking fall into 4 categories: identity with an appealing, attractive social image, satisfying taste and smoking enjoyment, low tar, and some unique quality of the brand such as package, style, filter, or length. It is certain that advertising is essential to keep people smoking. Many health experts believe that if cigarette advertising were outlawed, cigarette sales would drop drastically. The 1964 Surgeon General's report produced a dramatic change in smoking behavior. More than 29 million people quit. Previously, those who had stopped had done so because they were too ill to continue. But from the mid-60s, millions quit because of concern for their health. From 1967 to 1971, anti-smoking ads were broadcast on television.
Even though our parents themselves smoke. False. Kids learn a lot from their parents, and contradictory examples confuse them. Do you think we're being a nuisance when we try to get our parents to stop smoking? True, you might be a nuisance, but you're showing that you care about their health. Kicking the habit is tough, but lung disease is tougher.
The ads had a particularly strong effect on children.
Mom, are you gonna die from smoking cigarettes?
Millions quit smoking because of these ads. And millions more never started. Today, smoking is becoming less and less accepted. Many people find it annoying to be near a person who's smoking.
They pay for the coffee. That's right. It's under the participant expenses. That's where we have money for coffee and cups.
More than 70% of the population thinks that smoking should be restricted. An increasing number of people are taking stands against smoking. Many offices are divided into smoking and non-smoking sections. In some offices, employees have voted not to allow smoking at all. In many states, smoking has been restricted in government buildings, buses, theaters, hospitals and health facilities, stores, especially supermarkets, restaurants, and schools. In the 100-year period since cigarette smoking became popular, the image of the smoker has changed dramatically. From its earliest days, cigarette smoking has been pictured as glamorous and romantic. Cigarette advertising made smoking seem the thing to do. The president smoked. Movie stars and athletes endorsed cigarettes. Cigarettes even seemed to help us win the war. For women, few of whom smoked before 1900, cigarettes became associated with equality and breaking traditional bonds. But in 1964, the Surgeon General's report began to change all that. Every smoker knew he was risking his future health with every puff. Millions of smokers quit. Millions more wanted to. Today, the image of the smoker continues to tarnish. Recently, the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare declared smoking to be the nation's #1 health problem.
Research since the 64 Surgeon General's report has proven that smoking is even more dangerous than we originally believed. It accounts for even more diseases and disorders than we realized 14 years ago. These facts mean that people who smoke are committing slow-motion suicide.
Well, I can tell you that the doctors give me, with the medicines they're giving me, they give me a 25% chance of living 2 years with the medicines. And without the medicines, they give me a 25% chance of living a year. And if I didn't take the pain pills, I wouldn't sleep at all. And sometimes I still don't. The pain isn't just in your lung where your tumor is. The pain covers your complete body. It makes you weak. It saps you of all your strength. And naturally, being in my lung, I have no, they told me that it takes 5 years, one person did, for just a little small place to form on your lung. And mine is the size of an egg.